He liked the place. That makes this easier. Harold Bennett stopped outside the kitchen. His son lowered his voice. He thinks we were only visiting Uncle Frank. Vanessa gave a quiet laugh. Let him think that until he signs. Harold did not move. Through the half-open door, he saw a gray folder on the kitchen table. His name was printed across the front. Harold Bennett. Greenfield Residential Transition. Vanessa opened the folder. The first page showed a room overlooking the garden. Move-in date, Friday. The next page listed furniture from Harold's house. Bedroom set. Recliner. Television. Workshop tools. Beside each item, Vanessa had written one word. Keep. Sell. Donate. Michael turned another page. What about the financial forms? They're ready, Vanessa said. We only need his signature. Harold looked closer. A financial power of attorney rested beneath the Greenfield papers. Michael's name had already been typed into the space marked agent. Only Harold's signature line was blank. Vanessa lowered her voice again. Once that is signed, we can deal with the house and move the savings into the care account. Harold stepped back before either of them saw him. Only hours earlier, Michael and Vanessa had said they were taking him to visit Uncle Frank at Greenfield. He had liked the garden. He had enjoyed the coffee. A group of men had invited him to join their Thursday card game. He had even said the place felt warmer than he expected. Now he understood why Vanessa had watched every smile. She had not been asking whether he enjoyed the visit. She had been checking whether he would resist. Harold walked upstairs without making a sound. He opened the closet and pulled out an old brown suitcase. Then he packed 2 shirts. 1 pair of shoes. His shaving kit. Exactly what an obedient man would take for a short move. Beneath Rose's folded scarf, he found the brass key she had left behind. A small paper tag was tied to it. 3 words were written in her handwriting. Do not rush. At the bottom of the gray folder, Harold had seen one more heading. Bennett Family Care Account. He had never opened an account by that name. Harold closed the suitcase. Hello, my friends. I'm Eleanor Brooks. If you believe dignity still matters, subscribe and stay with me. Because someone had already begun connecting Harold's savings to an account he had never opened. Michael and Vanessa had gone outside to speak with the moving company. Harold closed his bedroom door and opened his laptop. He signed into his bank account. The checking balance looked normal. The savings account did not. A new external account appeared beneath it. Bennett Family Care. Status, verified. Harold stared at the name. He had never opened a family care account. He clicked the details. The account had been added 3 days earlier. The contact number ended in 4421. Vanessa's phone number ended in 4421. A transfer request had already been prepared. $42,000. Scheduled for Friday morning. The same morning listed as his Greenfield move-in date. Harold reached for a legal pad. For 32 years, he had managed maintenance records for the Dayton Public Schools. He had learned that dates mattered. So did names. And when 2 documents shared the same deadline, it was rarely an accident. He wrote down the account number, the transfer amount, and the time. Then he called First Federal. A woman named Carla answered. I need to know who linked an outside account to my savings, Harold said. Carla asked several security questions. Then she placed him on hold. When she returned, her voice was careful. The request was submitted through your online profile. I did not submit it. I can place a temporary hold on the transfer. How long? 24 hours. After that, you must come to a branch with identification. Can you remove the linked account? Not by phone. Harold looked toward the bedroom door. Downstairs, Vanessa called his name. Dad, are you awake? Harold covered the phone. "I'll be down soon." Carla continued. "If anyone else knows your password, change it immediately." Harold thanked her and ended the call. He changed the password. Then the security questions. A notification appeared before he could close the screen. Password reset requested. Someone downstairs was already trying to get back in. Harold shut the laptop. He slipped the brass key into his pocket. Then he placed the legal pad and Rose's note inside his jacket. The bank had given him 1 day. Vanessa believed she still had until Friday morning. That was the first advantage Harold had gained. At breakfast, Vanessa poured his coffee and smiled. A stack of papers waited beside his plate. "We should finish a few simple forms today," she said. Michael pushed a pen toward him. Harold looked at the top page. It was a financial power of attorney. Michael's name had already been filled in. Harold did not pick up the pen. "What does this allow Michael to do?" Vanessa sat across from him. "Pay bills. Speak with the bank. Handle paperwork if something comes up." Michael gave a small shrug. "It is just a precaution, Dad." Harold looked at the page again. The document did not say precaution. It said authority. He folded the top corner and turned to the next page. The authority reached far beyond paying bills. It touched his bank accounts, his property, and where he could live. Harold placed the stack back on the table. "I will read it first." Vanessa smiled, but the smile did not reach her eyes. "You do not need to understand every line." The kitchen became very quiet. Harold looked at her. For years, people had mistaken his patience for confusion. They were not the same thing. "I managed maintenance contracts for 32 schools," he said. "I can read a form." Michael shifted in his chair. "No one said you could not." Vanessa reached for the papers. "We are trying to make this easier." Harold kept one hand on the stack. "Easier for whom?" Michael looked down. That answer told Harold more than words would have. He carried the papers upstairs. Inside his bedroom, he locked the door and opened the bottom drawer of Rose's dresser. The brass key lay beside her note. "Do not rush." Beneath it was an old photograph of Michael at age 7, standing between Harold and Rose at a county fair. Michael was holding a blue ribbon. Harold remembered how tightly the boy had gripped his hand in the crowd. Rose had once told him, quietly, that fatherhood was not something a hospital record could measure. Harold had smiled and changed the subject. He had never needed blood to tell him who his son was. That was why Michael's silence downstairs hurt more than Vanessa's words. Harold lifted the key. A paper tag was tied beneath the first note. Box 3174. First Federal. Ask for Mrs. Keller. Harold called the branch. Mrs. Keller had retired, but the safe deposit box was still active. Only Harold and Rose were listed for access. "What is inside?" he asked. The employee answered carefully. "You will need to come in with identification and the key." A floorboard creaked outside the bedroom. Then Vanessa knocked. "Dad, Michael needs those forms back." "I am still reading." "You really do not have to make this difficult." Harold looked at the photograph again. Then he slipped the key into his pocket. He opened the door. Vanessa stood in the hallway, one hand extended. Harold gave her the unsigned papers. "I have an errand." Her eyes moved to his jacket. "Where are you going?" Harold picked up his car keys. "To find out what Rose thought I might need someday." Harold reached First Federal just after 10. The branch looked different from the one he remembered. There were no teller windows. Only glass offices and a quiet waiting area. A woman named Denise Walker checked his identification. Then she looked at the brass key. "Box 3174, she said. "Your wife updated the access instructions 6 years ago." Harold followed her downstairs. The safe deposit room smelled faintly of metal and dust. Denise inserted the bank key. Harold used Rose's. Inside the box was a blue folder, a sealed envelope, and a small flash drive. The folder held copies of the Bennett Living Trust. Harold read the first page carefully. The house belonged to the trust. He was the sole acting trustee. No family member could sell it, transfer it, or use it as security without his written approval and an independent review. Michael's name appeared only as a future beneficiary. Not an owner. Not a decision-maker. Harold turned to the next document. It listed Rose's attorney, Elaine Porter. A business card was clipped to the page. Harold called from the private viewing room. Elaine answered on the second ring. When he described the Greenfield papers, her voice changed. Do not sign anything. I wasn't planning to. Good. Photograph every page. Harold sent the power of attorney, the move-in schedule, and the bank information. Elaine reviewed them while he waited. The power of attorney names Michael, she said. But the linked care account is managed by Vanessa. Harold looked at the transfer request again. Michael's name made the plan look like family help. Vanessa's name gave her control. Elaine continued. There is also a house authorization draft in the file. It is not valid without your direct approval. Why would they think I would sign? Because they believe you will not slow the process down. Harold looked at Rose's note. Do not rush. His phone vibrated. A message from Vanessa appeared. Harold remembered the bottom drawer of Rose's dresser. The papers that had once been kept there were gone. Vanessa knew the trust existed. She simply did not know Rose had kept another copy at the bank. Dad, bring the trust papers home. We need everything together before tomorrow. Harold read it twice. He had never told Vanessa about the safe deposit box. He had never told her he found the trust. That meant she already knew what Rose had hidden. He showed the message to Elaine. Save it, she said. And go home. Harold tightened his grip on the phone. Why? Because they still think you do not understand the structure. Elaine paused. Let them keep thinking that. Harold closed the blue folder. He had entered the bank looking for protection. He left with something more useful. The first clear proof that Michael's name was being used to place control in Vanessa's hands. Harold returned home just before noon. Vanessa was standing near the front window. You were gone a long time. The bank was busy. Her eyes dropped to the blue folder beneath his arm. Did you bring the trust papers? Harold set his keys on the table. I thought you said these were only Greenfield forms. Michael came in from the kitchen. The trust is connected to the house. Harold looked at him. How did you know the house was in a trust? Michael opened his mouth. Vanessa answered first. Rose mentioned it years ago. Harold said nothing. Rose had never discussed legal documents with Vanessa. He walked into the kitchen. The gray folder was gone. In its place was a yellow legal pad covered with Vanessa's handwriting. At the top, she had written, Friday move. Below it was a checklist. Confirm Greenfield room. Transfer utilities. Schedule estate sale. Move savings. Deliver vehicle title. Replace locks after departure. Harold read the final line twice. Vanessa turned the pad face down. That is just planning. For a move I never agreed to. Michael rubbed his hands together. Dad, you liked Greenfield. I liked visiting Frank. That is not the same thing, Harold said. Vanessa placed the financial power of attorney on the table again. We are trying to protect you before something happens. Harold looked at her. What happened? She did not answer immediately. Then she said, You forgot to pay the electric bill last month. Harold walked to the desk near the living room. He opened the bottom drawer. The electric bill was inside. Paid on time. The confirmation number was stapled to the statement. He carried it back and placed it beside Vanessa's coffee. Her expression barely changed. That does not prove you remembered on your own. Michael looked down. Harold understood. The missed payment was not a mistake. It was part of the story they were building about him. His phone rang. Greenfield Assisted Living. Harold answered. A woman introduced herself as the admissions coordinator. Mr. Bennett, we need to confirm your care assessment tomorrow at 2. Harold looked at Vanessa. I did not schedule an assessment. The woman paused. Our records show that your daughter arranged it. I do not have a daughter. The coordinator asked Harold to confirm his date of birth, home address, and the last 4 digits of his phone number. After he answered, she returned to the file. No one in the kitchen moved. The coordinator checked the file. Vanessa Bennett is listed as your family contact. Harold kept his eyes on Vanessa. When was the application submitted? There was another pause. 6 days ago. The visit to Uncle Frank had happened 3 days later. Harold thanked her and ended the call. Vanessa reached for his phone. This is getting confused. Harold slipped it into his pocket. No, he said quietly. It is becoming clear. The Greenfield visit had not started the plan. It had only helped Vanessa finish it. Harold waited until Michael and Vanessa went upstairs. Then he carried the blue folder into Rose's old sewing room and called Elaine Porter. She answered immediately. I was expecting you. Harold looked toward the closed door. How did you know? Michael called my office this morning. Harold sat down. What did he want? He said you were ready to transfer the house and needed help reviewing Rose's trust. Harold looked at the blue folder in his lap. I never told him that. I know. Elaine's voice stayed calm. He also said the family wanted to complete everything tomorrow. Everything? The power of attorney. The care account. The house authorization. Harold tightened his grip on the phone. And you agreed to meet them? I agreed to attend. That is not the same thing. No, Elaine said. It is not. She explained that Vanessa had chosen First Federal for the signing because the savings account was already there. A representative from the title company would join by video. Denise Walker would be present. So would a notary. They believe my presence will make the documents look routine, Elaine said. What will you do? Ask questions. Harold waited. Elaine continued. I want Vanessa to explain every document in front of the bank. I want Michael to confirm what he believes you agreed to. And I want you to hear their answers before you decide what comes next. Harold looked at Rose's note. Do not rush. What do you need from me? Bring the gray folder. Bring the trust copies. Do not tell them you spoke with me. A box scraped across the floor downstairs. Harold opened the sewing room door. Vanessa was labeling dishes in the kitchen. Michael was carrying framed photographs into the hallway. They were not preparing for a conversation. They were preparing for his absence. Harold returned to the kitchen. Vanessa looked up. Did Elaine explain everything? Harold kept his expression neutral. She said she would be at the bank tomorrow. Relief crossed Vanessa's face. Good. Then we can finish this properly. Harold looked at the moving boxes. I will go. Michael stopped beside the table. You will? Yes. Vanessa smiled. Thank you, Dad. Harold picked up the gray folder. But I want every document brought with us. Of course, Vanessa said. And no one signs anything before I arrive. Her smile held for 1 second too long. Whatever makes you comfortable. Harold placed the folder back on the table. For the first time, he was no longer following their schedule. He was using it. Before the bank meeting, he had one more stop to make. Greenfield had a file with his name on it. Harold intended to find out who had written the story inside. Harold arrived at Greenfield at 8:45 the next morning. Elaine was waiting near the front entrance. "You said the bank meeting is at 10, Harold said. "It is." "Then we have just over an hour." Inside, the admissions coordinator recognized him. "Mr. Bennett. We were expecting you this afternoon." Harold placed his driver's license on the desk. "I need to review the application submitted in my name." The woman hesitated. "Vanessa Bennett is listed as your family contact." Elaine handed her a business card. "Mr. Bennett is here in person. He is asking about his own file." The coordinator disappeared into a back office. She returned with a thin folder. The first page listed Vanessa as Harold's daughter. The second described him as forgetful, financially dependent, and unable to manage daily decisions without family support. Harold read each line slowly. Missed payments. Repeated confusion. Unsafe choices. Resistance to necessary care. The electric bill had become a pattern on paper. One false story had been copied into several boxes. Then Harold reached the care recommendation. It was not a medical finding. It was a preliminary assessment based on information supplied by Vanessa. Harold looked at Elaine. She wrote the problem, then used the problem to justify the solution. Elaine pointed to the date. The form had been submitted 6 days earlier. 3 days before the visit to Uncle Frank. The coordinator turned another page. Under anticipated payment source, Vanessa had written, "Proceeds from the sale of current residence." Harold read the line again. No one had asked whether he planned to sell his house. But Greenfield had already been told that he would. "May I have a copy?" he asked. Before the coordinator answered, the office phone rang. She listened. Then she looked at Harold. "It is Mrs. Bennett." Elaine kept her voice level. "Please preserve the complete file. Emails, uploads, call notes, and payment records." The coordinator covered the receiver. "Our administrator will need to review the request before releasing anything." That was Vanessa's next move. Delay the evidence. Control the language. Make Harold sound uncertain before he could speak for himself. As they crossed the parking lot, Michael called. "Dad, where are you?" "Greenfield. You were supposed to come straight to the bank." "I am on my way." Michael lowered his voice. "Vanessa says you are getting confused." Harold stopped beside his car. "No, Michael." He looked back at the building. "I am getting documented." He ended the call. Elaine opened the passenger door. "Do you still want the meeting to continue?" "Yes." Harold checked the time. 9:23. Let Vanessa explain every page herself. Then he started the car. For the first time, he knew what their future depended on. Not his safety. His house. Vanessa was already seated when Harold and Elaine entered the bank conference room. Michael sat beside her. The gray folder was open between them. Denise Walker stood near the screen at the end of the table. A title company representative waited on video. Vanessa checked the clock. "You are late." Harold took the chair across from her. "No. I arrived after reading the file you created about me." Michael looked at Vanessa. "What file?" Vanessa answered quickly. "Greenfield needs background information." Elaine placed the blue folder on the table. "Then this should help with the background." She connected Rose's flash drive to the conference room screen. A list of saved emails appeared. The oldest was dated 6 years earlier. Vanessa leaned forward. "What is that?" Elaine opened the first message. It was from Vanessa to Rose. "Rose, Michael and I need to know when he will be added to the house. We cannot make long-term plans while everything remains uncertain." Michael looked at his wife. "I never saw that." Vanessa kept her eyes on the screen. It was a family discussion. Elaine opened Rose's reply. "My home is not your financial plan. The room went silent. A second email appeared. Vanessa had asked whether Michael could be added to the trust before Rose's health declined. Another asked for access to account summaries. Rose had saved every message. Harold watched Michael read them. The surprise on his face looked real. Elaine disconnected Rose's flash drive. Then Denise opened a document the bank had requested after reviewing the destination account. It was a mortgage pre-approval worksheet for Michael and Vanessa. Under expected funds, one line read: proceeds from family property. The amount beside it closely matched the estimated equity in Harold's house. Denise looked at Vanessa. Was Mr. Bennett aware that his property was included in this application? Vanessa folded her hands. It was an estimate. For property you do not own? Harold asked. We were planning ahead. 6 years ahead? Vanessa's expression hardened. Rose made everything difficult. She refused to discuss practical decisions. Harold looked at the old email again. Rose had not misunderstood Vanessa. She had recognized the plan before Harold did. Michael turned toward his wife. You told me Dad asked us to help. He needs help. You told me the house would eventually be part of the family. It should be. Harold felt the meaning shift. Vanessa had not created this plan because Greenfield seemed right for him. Greenfield was simply the tool that made an old goal easier. Elaine closed the email folder. Then Denise placed a transfer report on the table. The $42,000 request has been moved forward, she said. Harold checked the time. 10:28. When is it scheduled? Today, Denise said. Just before noon. Vanessa reached for the power of attorney. Then we should stop wasting time. Harold looked at the blank signature line. For 6 years, Vanessa had been waiting for Rose to stop saying no. Now she believed only one person remained between her and the house. Harold picked up the pen. But he did not sign. Harold set the pen beside the power of attorney. Denise placed a different form in front of him. This is a transaction dispute statement, she said. If you sign it, we can stop the $42,000 transfer while the bank reviews the account. Harold read the first page. How long will the review take? Possibly several business days. And my savings? They may be temporarily restricted. Vanessa leaned back in her chair. There. That is exactly the problem. Harold looked at her. What problem? You cannot afford to have your accounts frozen. Your utilities are due. Greenfield needs payment. Someone has to manage things while the bank investigates. She pushed the power of attorney closer. Sign this, and Michael can handle everything. Michael looked at the document. Dad, it might be easier. Harold turned toward him. Easier than what? Michael did not answer. Harold checked the dispute form again. If he signed it, the transfer would stop. But his access to the money Rose and he had saved could be limited until the bank finished its review. Vanessa had created the transfer. Now she was using the inconvenience of stopping it as proof that Harold needed her plan. Denise spoke carefully. Mr. Bennett, the choice is yours. No one in this room can sign for you. Vanessa's voice softened. We are not trying to take anything. We are trying to keep your life stable. Harold looked at the gray folder. His room had been selected. His furniture had been divided. His home had been included in someone else's mortgage plan. That was not stability. It was replacement. He picked up the pen. Vanessa exhaled. Michael moved the power of attorney closer. Harold pushed it aside. Then he signed the transaction dispute. Stop the transfer. Vanessa's chair moved sharply against the floor. You are going to lock yourself out of your own money. For a few days, Harold said. And then what? Then it will still be my money. Denise took the signed form and left the room. Vanessa turned to Michael. Do something. Michael looked at his father. Dad, are you sure? Harold capped the pen. For the first time this week. His phone rang. Greenfield Assisted Living. Harold answered on speaker. The administrator introduced herself. Mr. Bennett, we need authorization regarding your room deposit. What deposit? $4,000. Paid yesterday from an account belonging to Michael and Vanessa Bennett. Harold looked at Vanessa. The administrator continued. The cancellation deadline is 11:30. Harold checked the clock. 11:04. They had 26 minutes. The Greenfield administrator remained on speaker. To cancel the reservation, she said, we need confirmation that Mr. Bennett did not approve the deposit. Harold looked at Vanessa. Did I approve it? Vanessa folded her arms. You approved Greenfield when you said you liked it. That was lunch. You said you could imagine living there. I said the garden was nice. The administrator spoke again. Mrs. Bennett, did Mr. Bennett authorize you to reserve the room? Vanessa looked at Michael. He knew we were making plans. Michael's face tightened. That is not what she asked. Vanessa turned toward him. You were there. Yes, Michael said. And Dad thought we were visiting Uncle Frank. Harold placed the yellow checklist on the table. Then the Greenfield application. Then the paid electric bill. You told them I missed payments. Vanessa looked away. You needed reminders. Harold placed the mortgage pre-approval email beside it. You told the lender my house would help pay for your next one. That was only an estimate. He placed the power of attorney on top. You filled in Michael's name before asking me. We were preparing. Finally, Harold set the gray folder in front of her. My room. My furniture. My savings. My house. His voice remained quiet. Which part did I choose? No one answered. The clock changed to 11:12. The administrator repeated the question. Mrs. Bennett, was the reservation authorized? Vanessa pressed both hands against the table. He would have agreed eventually. Michael stared at her. Harold did not move. That sentence settled the matter. The visit had never been about showing him an option. It had been about making the decision first and collecting his consent later. Michael reached toward the speakerphone. My father did not authorize the room. Vanessa grabbed his wrist. Think about what we lose if you cancel. Michael pulled his hand away. The decision was never ours. He spoke toward the phone. Cancel the reservation. The administrator confirmed the request. The $4,000 deposit would be returned after review. Vanessa stood. You just ruined everything. Michael looked at the mortgage email. No. We planned everything around money that did not belong to us. Denise returned to the conference room with another document. The transfer has been stopped, Denise said. But the title company found one more issue. She placed a house authorization draft in front of Harold. An electronic image of his signature had been inserted at the bottom. The title representative appeared on the screen. We received no electronic consent record, no direct confirmation, and no valid witness page. Harold studied the signature. It had been copied from an older document. The letters were his. The placement was not. He looked at Michael. Did I give either of you permission to use my signature? Michael shook his head. No. Vanessa reached for the page. Harold covered it with his hand. Then this document stops here. Denise pulled the house authorization away from Vanessa. The title company will not accept this, Denise said. There is no record that Mr. Bennett authorized the electronic signature, and the document was never validly completed. The representative on the screen nodded. The house remains in the Bennett Living Trust. No transfer will move forward without Mr. Bennett's direct approval. Elaine closed the gray folder. The power of attorney was never signed. The savings transfer has been stopped. The care account will remain under review. And Greenfield has cancelled the reservation. One by one, the choices Vanessa had tried to make for Harold were returned to him. She turned toward Michael. Say something. Michael looked at the house authorization. You told me Dad signed this. I said he was going to sign it. That is not the same thing. Vanessa lowered her voice. We can still challenge the trust. Harold watched his son carefully. Vanessa continued. You are his only child. That house was always supposed to become yours. Harold opened the blue folder. There is one thing Rose left for you. He removed a sealed envelope. Michael's name was written across the front in Rose's handwriting. Harold had seen it in the safe deposit box. He had left it closed until now. Rose asked me to give you this when the truth about family mattered more than the property. Harold placed the envelope in Michael's hands. Michael broke the seal. He read the first page without speaking. Then he sat down. Rose had written the truth simply. Harold could not have biological children. Michael had been born before Rose met him. Harold knew that before they married. He knew it when Michael first called him Dad. He knew it when he taught Michael to drive. He knew it when he paid his college tuition. Harold had never been forced into fatherhood. He had chosen it. Michael lowered the letter. Vanessa leaned over his shoulder. Her eyes moved quickly across the page. Then she looked at her husband. If he is not your biological father, you do not owe him your future. Harold felt the words land harder than the house papers. Vanessa pointed toward the trust. Challenge it. Do not let him give everything away. Michael looked at Harold. For several seconds, neither man spoke. Then Michael folded Rose's letter carefully. He chose me, Michael said. Vanessa shook her head. That does not change what we need. No, Michael replied. It changes what I have become. He pushed every unsigned document toward Elaine. I will not challenge the trust. Then Michael removed Harold's house key from his pocket. He placed it on the table. I am sorry, Dad. Harold covered the key with one hand. The house was still his. The savings were still his. The decision was still his. But the most important choice in that room now belonged to Michael. He could keep treating Harold like an inheritance. Or he could finally begin acting like the son Harold had chosen. 3 weeks later, Harold returned to Greenfield. This time, he drove himself. No one had packed his suitcase. No one had chosen his room. No one had placed a pen in his hand. The administrator showed him 2 available rooms. Harold chose the one overlooking the garden. He read every page. Then he signed his own name. On his first Thursday at Greenfield, Harold joined the card game near the window. Uncle Frank saved him a seat. Harold placed Rose's brass key beside his coffee. The safe deposit box was empty now. But he kept the key. It reminded him that Rose had not protected him from growing older. She had protected his right to decide what growing older would look like. The bank completed its review a few days later. The $42,000 transfer was canceled. The care account was closed. Harold's access to his savings was fully restored. Vanessa was removed from every contact list connected to his home, bank, and care. 2 weeks later, Michael moved into a small apartment. He told Harold he needed time to decide whether a marriage built around someone else's property could still be repaired. Michael returned the copies he had kept. He reimbursed Harold for the bank review fee and the cost of changing every financial password and access setting. He did not ask Harold to forgive him. Not right away. He started with 1 phone call every Sunday. No questions about money. No questions about the house. No promises about inheritance. A month later, Harold allowed a short visit. They sat in the Greenfield garden for 20 minutes. Michael apologized again. Harold listened. Then he said, "Trust does not return because someone says the right words." Michael nodded. "I know." Harold did not give him the house key back. But he agreed to another visit. Before selling the house, Harold updated his estate plan. His savings would first pay for his own life and care. He created an independent trust for his grandson's education, health, and first home. Michael and Vanessa would have no control over it. After Harold's own needs were met, anything remaining would help Greenfield residents without family support. Hello, my friends. I'm Eleanor Brooks. Forgiveness may reopen a conversation. But trust returns only when behavior changes. Harold still called Michael his son. He simply stopped confusing love with access. Do you believe Harold was right to let Michael back into his life slowly? Or would the hidden plan, the false signature, and Michael's silence have ended that relationship for you? I'd like to hear what you would have done. Until next time, take care of yourself and your peace.